Hello and welcome to Coffee and Video Games. So about 6 months ago I bought this card on the used market for my newest build. Um, it's a Zotac RTX 2080 Ti Amp Extreme Core Edition. Um, got a pretty good deal on it, installed it, it worked awesome, it looked beautiful. There's RGB on the sides and also on the bottom. Um, Pretty good looking, nice effects. But about 2 months ago or so, there was an update to the Firestorm software where Spectra is located, which is the software that controls the RGB on it. Tried installing the update, it didn't go through. It said to restart my computer. I restarted it, and when I did, the RGB would no longer turn on. I tried uninstalling, reinstalling, turning off and on. Uh, Even went as far as using DDU to uninstall the drivers and reinstall the drivers, to no avail because the RGB just never came back on. I looked online to try to see if anyone else was having the same issue, found out that it was a common issue on these cards, and it seems like it's been happening ever since the 1080s and up to the new 3080s. They just seem to have issues with their RGB, just randomly stopping. So I tried reaching out to Zotac directly. I had a rep connect directly to my computer to try to install Firestorm themselves to see if they could get it to work. Spent about an hour and a half. They couldn't figure it out. Their solution was to tell me to RMA it, but as I mentioned, I bought this in the used market, so RMAing it was not an option for me. So after doing a little bit of more research, I ran into a post by, I think his name is JustSleightly, who did a hardware mod to basically rewire it to be able to use the RGB lights through your computer's um, motherboard instead of the software. So here we are. We're gonna go ahead and today try to do that mod. I tried seeing if anyone else had any videos on it. I couldn't find any tutorials, so this is kind of like a tutorial where we're hopefully gonna be able to get the RGB working, bring it back to life again. Before getting started, make sure to remember, do this at your own discretion. You know, I am not liable if you try this and mess something up. This is just kind of a tutorial if you do choose to do it yourself and try to get or bring the RGB back to life. To get started, he did list a couple of the items he's recommending to use. I'm not gonna use quite the exact same things because I just wanted to use what I had on hand. The most important thing is this little wire, which is gonna be our new connection from the graphics card onto the motherboard. We obviously need something to cut it with and also to cut the wires from the graphics card. I'm gonna use some electrical tape and obviously a Phillips head screwdriver. This is also a good opportunity to do a little bit of cleanup. I actually never took this apart before installing it. The guy had it boxed and didn't really use it much, so I figured it was okay as it was, but I'm also going to take this opportunity to repaste it and dust it. But without further ado, let's get started. As I mentioned, I am following the tutorial that I found from this guy on Reddit. And also, he did mention this is not compatible with the 4-pin header. So before doing this, also make sure that your motherboard is compatible with the 3-pin RGB header. Otherwise, this is not going to work out for you. So bear that in mind as well. To get started, he listed a diagram of the screws we need to take off. It looks like it's 9 screws in total from the back that are going to allow us to remove the front plate. There's also the 4 screws in the middle, but those hold on to the heatsink, which we're not going to do just yet. For now, let's get started with the 9 screws. It is important to remember at this point, don't try to take the shroud off just yet because we need to do some unplugging first. And there's also more screws in the front that we also need to remove. I am following his tutorial directly, so he mentions there is 4 more screws that we need to take off the front, which are located on the heatsink. I'm assuming it's these guys. Perfect. So after getting those screws off, there is 3 connectors that we need to unplug. You can kind of see them from here. There's 1, 2, and 3. And with that, we get the shroud off. This is the one that we're going to be splicing to be able to connect onto the motherboard. He also noted what the cable does. So he says the black cable is our ground, the white cable is the data cable, and then the red is power. On here, if you have the same cable as I do, on the actual plug you can kind of get an idea because it'll say G for ground, D for data, and then the power just kind of has a little arrow to it. So remember when connecting these cables to this to make the right connection. I'm also going to make sure to give myself plenty of slack just in case I mess something up so that I can, you know, go back and cut it, redo it. But it is a little dusty here, so I'm going to take this time and do a little bit of cleaning with my handy dandy data vac. So I'll be right back. Alright, and we are back with our now dust-free shroud. I tried taking this off the actual heatsink, but I couldn't figure out how to do it, so I guess we'll leave the repasting for maybe another video. But for now, we're just going to continue with what we had intended to do with the rewiring of the cables. So, as I mentioned, on his actual guide, he stated the black is ground, the white is data, and the red is power. So let's just bear that in mind when cutting them and trying to connect them onto what's going to be our new cable now. So let's cut these guys. Let's actually do it this way so I can get closer to this. So we officially got the actual connector off and our 3 wires are exposed. And then on what's going to be our new motherboard RGB connector, we're going to do basically the same, just cutting it and getting access to the actual cables. So we're not going to need that anymore. And what I'm going to use here, well, let's try to see if I can do it with this. Just going to try to open them up a little bit so I can actually splice them. And we're going to do one at a time so that we don't get them mixed up. So that's plenty of room. Now I'm actually going to use my knife to expose the wire. Basically all you want to do is expose the actual wire so that we can connect it on to the graphics card cables. So now we got our 3 cables exposed for our new connection. And what you're gonna want to do is do the same with these cables. If you feel like you're gonna need more slack, you can cut this up a little bit. I'm probably gonna do that. I'm by no means a professional, so don't judge me too harshly. But yeah, we're gonna cut this up a little bit and then expose these wires. Now that I have more cable available, I'm gonna splice these up to have the wire exposed. Alright, so now we got our cables exposed. One thing to note is that these cables are pretty thin, so be careful when cutting them or splicing them so that you don't actually cut the wire. But now comes the most fun part, is following the guide, as I mentioned, to get to the right cable. So the one on the far right on my connector has the G for ground, and as I mentioned earlier, the black cable is our ground. So this is basically the part that's going to matter the most. Make sure you get the cable to the actual right connection. So let's get this started. As I mentioned, I'm not a professional, so these are gonna suck, but that's why I have the electrical tape available. So there's that one, and then the white cable is our data cable, which is the one in the middle. So let's get the electrical tape ready. Alright, so let's start with the ground. And when you use the tape, make sure to actually cover all the wire itself so that no wire is exposed, because if it is, it could potentially create a short. The good thing is that this is not like a moving part, so it's not like it's going to be under a lot of pressure or anything like that. Now we're going to switch to the data cable. It would definitely look a lot cleaner with shrink wrap. Probably be also better. Our data cable is taped. And the last one is our power cable. So now we got our connection taken care of. And that's basically what the mod is. So now our cables are connected. This is gonna go to our motherboard, and hopefully this will bring our RGB back to life. So now the next step is basically to put it back together. Obviously not forgetting to plug these two guys back in. So let's get that taken care of. And actually, to make it a little, I guess, cleaner, you can, well, no. Actually, yes. There's a hole right under the RGB light. And just kind of route the cable through there. And it'll be easier to manage it from there once it's in your computer case. Perfect, so now the shroud is on. And gotta fix the back plate. So let's flip this guy over. Actually, I'm gonna dust this really quick because there is a few bits of dust. Alright, so now we got the shroud also free of dust. Or not the shroud, the back plate. And we just have to line it up and put all 9 screws again. Perfect. So now we got the shroud nicely secured, and this is what our modded card will look like for now. Now the next step is to test it. Let's plug it in and hope for the best. Okay, so I basically had to take my whole computer apart and redo the wiring to be able to get to the extra 3-pin header that I had available. So sorry for the mess. My case is basically completely apart right now, but it's time for the moment of the truth. Hopefully it'll work. Let's try it out in 3, 2, 1. And there it is. Finally, the RGB is back in all its glory. I connected it to another, well, the little bar you see on the bottom here, it was preset to green, so I'll change the color. I'll adjust it, back to whatever I had it or wanted to get to. Can't really tell on the camera, but it's green. But anyway, our RGB is alive again. Thanks once again to the gentleman that posted the tutorial on how to do this. Hopefully, if you're having the same issue, you'll be able to follow along, again, at your own risk. Be mindful, remember that if for some reason your card is still under warranty, this will definitely void the warranty. Again, thank you for JustSleightly for the tutorial. I'll go ahead and leave a link posted of the tutorial down below in the description of the video, as well as a link to the stuff that I used to make this mod possible. If you like the video, please leave a like, share it. I know this is a common issue, so if you know of anyone that's having the same issue with their Zotac RTX 2080 Ti Amp Extreme Core Edition, send them the video so they can get an idea on how to fix it themselves, since Zotac won't do anything about it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.